Hi everyone, I'm Ellen March and this is Sulky's So What? Today we are going to be talking about a lot of things, so thanks for joining. If you are new to So What, let me know in the comments. I always like to see and hear from you all, and today we have a great giveaway for all those who are commenting, liking, sharing today's post, and I will get to that in just a moment. But for now, I want to begin talking about our virtual event. So, since we are not able to congregate as groups and be out at our sewing shows and taking our sewing classes, Sulky has a lot of opportunities for you all to gather together virtually and not only talk to each other and make new friends, but also to learn lots of new things. So, first of all, we have a great virtual event happening at 2 o'clock today, 2 o'clock Eastern Time. If you haven't registered, you can still do so. So, it's happening in just a couple of hours. And we combined efforts with the American Sewing Guild. Are you all familiar with the American Sewing Guild? Let me know if you're in a guild already, if you know about American Sewing Guild, or if this is all new to you, okay? American Sewing Guild is a organization where you can do just what I described, but in person. You can meet people who love to sew, quilt, create, knit, crochet, all kinds of fun crafting mediums, and you can make new friends. They have events, they have meetings. You'll come together and learn new things. They host classes and things like that, and every year they have an annual conference, and I have been lucky enough to attend that conference for several years throughout my career, and it's a wonderful time. They have a big vendor hall where you can get tons of shopping done. They have classes all day long from industry experts who are amazing. And there's a banquet, there's a fashion show, there's all kinds of fun things to do. Well, as you know, this year they're unable to do that. Okay, so we combined forces with American Sewing Guild to bring you this awesome virtual event today. It's going to be similar to the Sulky webinars that you know and love. However, it's going to have much more content. We're going to have more door prizes than ever before. So you'll have double the chance to win. And there's going to be sewing celebrities who are going to drop by and say hello. There's just going to be so much fun. So make sure you register. Like I said, happening at 2 o'clock Eastern Time. So in just a couple of short hours, you can still register. It's totally free. Now, normally, Sulky does guild events, right? So a guild from American Sewing Guild or a quilt guild or the like will host us to come to their guild in person and do in-person education, lectures, demos, sort of sew-alongs, and it's a great fun afternoon. So we're basically doing that virtually. So you will get a chance to see what goes on at a Sulky Guild event in the comfort of your own home today. Super exciting, and I hope you're all able to join us. Just like our typical webinars, we're going to have great product specials today for the projects that we are presenting in the webinar. Also, before we start the project part of the webinar, we will be doing one of our technique lessons, or lectures like we like to call them. And Michelle Umlauf, who is a Sulky educator, she's amazing. She will be heading that part of the webinar. I will be doing the project demo. So it seems like a lot to get through this afternoon. We will have an intermission, which is going to be super fun. Doesn't sound fun, but we're going to need a break to stretch our legs, and I have a great little video to show you during that intermission. So there's just so many fun things that are going to go on, and I really, really hope that you're able to join us. So what we will be making today for the webinar is our Simply Applique kit. Now, I have the summer one here just to show you what the kit looks like, or part of the kit, I will say. And you have the opportunity to grab all 4 seasons. There's a summer, spring, fall, and winter version of this really, really cute applique wall hanging. I'm showing summer because, hey, it's summertime, really, or we're approaching it at least. So in today's kit, which is a screaming deal for the webinar today, you will get this fabric kit that comes with your pattern pieces and laser cut applique pieces. You might be looking at this thinking, I've got to cut all that out. Nope. Super big time saver. All the pieces are laser cut, and I'm going to show you what that looks like here. You will also get with the kit 6 spools of sulky decorative thread. It comes with some rayon thread, and also each kit comes with a spool of metallic. It's going to vary which type and color of metallic that you get depending on the season that you choose. So in a little bit, I'm going to go over some tips for sewing metallic thread. This is a big question we get from people all the time. How do I sew metallic thread without it breaking? So I'm going to give you some tips in a moment. But first, let me show you what these laser cut pieces look like, because if you haven't worked with an applique kit that has laser cut pieces, you might be wondering how it looks in the kit. So let me find a piece. They're sort of punched out of the fabric. So you'll get a piece that looks like this, and you see how that's all laser precision cut. Not only is it precision cut, it also already has the fusible attached. Okay. So, I mean, talk about a time saver. You'll get accurate, perfect results with these laser cut pieces. You place them on your pattern. We're going to go through it all today, but I just wanted to show you how these are sort of punched into the fabric. So you just take your piece and gently take it out of its bigger fabric piece. And then you'll take your paper off, of course, and fuse just like traditional applique. Isn't that the coolest thing? I mean, you guys are going to love these kits. I have made several of them. I have made the winter one, which is a really cute snowman. Let me show you what they all look like here. So you'll see the bundles. There is the spring, fall, summer, and winter, like I talked about, and your 6 spools of sulky thread. And the reason that you have 6 spools is so that you can match your thread color to the applique piece. So just pick the thread color that closely resembles that fabric, and you can see how there's a metallic in each one. So that makes it super fun, especially that snowman. You want a little silver metallic fleck, in your little snowman, and that one comes with like a bluish color. So you can add that to your background. You can quilt your wall hanging with it, whatever your heart's desire. So that's kind of what all the kits look like, and you can choose your favorite, or obviously you can get all 4 because it's just a great, great price today for the day of the webinar. All right, so that is what our kit looks like today for the webinar. You may have attended our Snowman Winter Simply Applique webinar, which we hosted last year. This is going to have lots more content. Like I said, you'll learn tons about working with sulky stabilizers. And I might add, we have a great, great sale on stabilizers right now. All stabilizers, 30% off, until tomorrow at midnight. So you can't really get better than that, guys, as far as grabbing up all your sulky stabilizers and stocking up, which leads me to my discussion about working with metallic threads. Okay. Now, metallic threads are going to be used in a decorative way, obviously. Now, you can use a Poly-Lite 60 weight sulky thread that matches your metallic color. So if you have that blue metallic, you'll go with like an aqua blue Poly-Lite for your bobbin. Or you can use invisible thread in the bobbin. That way, the stitch that you're producing is all metallic all the time. All right? So that's what I recommend for bobbin thread. You can also use sulky bobbin thread, especially if you're using metallic thread for embroidery. The bobbin thread is a very lightweight thread, and it's going to help produce a very balanced stitch with your metallic threads. Okay, so metallic thread, like I was saying, you're going to need a metal needle, okay? Organ metal needle, size 9014 when working with metallics. It gives you a needle hole that is a little bit longer and skinnier to accommodate the friction of the metallic thread, okay? I like to use an organ top stitch needle. You can see how much I like to use it because I only have one left in my pack, okay? Also a 9014. Now, when I'm doing the Simply Applique project, I use a top stitch needle because I can switch from metallic to rayon without switching my needle out. It works for both types of thread, okay? So top stitch needle or metal needle. Now the other thing, some people have had success using sewer's aid. Now you don't put sewer's aid on the thread, you put sewer's aid on your needle. Sewer's aid is a lubricant that helps the thread glide through that needle much smoother and easier. So very inexpensive thing to try. It's good for a number of different things. So grab some of that as well. If you have continued issues sewing with metallic thread after doing all of these things, you can grab yourself a thread director. We have these on the Sulky site. It is a spool pin adapter that transforms your vertical spool pin into a horizontal spool pin. And you might be thinking, well, I already have a horizontal spool pin. Okay, what this does is when you put it on your machine, your thread is winding off toward the needle as opposed to winding off straight. Okay, and I'm going to explain this by showing you how it goes on your machine. All right, so here I have my Husqvarna Viking Designer Epic 2. You can see I've got two vertical spool pins, okay? So what you're gonna do, this is what your thread director looks like, okay? What you're gonna do is undo these little screws and place it onto your vertical spool pin. And can you see now, might have to adjust this just slightly. Now you can see when I put my thread on, see how it is facing out toward the needle, and now it is winding off straight without twisting. All right? So if I were to have my thread going this way, it's going to twist off the spool. You see that? That causes extra twists on your way to the needle and is going to eventually result in thread breakage. All right? I know there have been many of you who have asked, how do I use this thread director? And what if I don't already have a vertical spool pin to put the thread director onto? So I have a photo of it being used on a different machine to show you. Okay, so you can also put it onto your bobbin winder spool pin. So you see how that's on the bobbin winder? Isn't that great? So you can use this no matter what machine brand you have. It's just a different way of applying it, and the instructions are included. I highly recommend using this, especially with sulky sliver and sulky hollow shimmer threads, because they are a flat thread. Okay, original metallic is a round thread. You can use it just like you would use a rayon thread. Okay, no spool pin adapter needed. But for these flat decorative threads, the sliver and hollow shimmer, they really need to not twist as they come off of the spool pin. So I hope that makes sense to everyone. If you have questions, someone's asking, where do I get it? That is amazing. You can get it at sulky.com, and in the description of today's post, I put a link to the thread director. I also linked to the thread director 2. Okay, the thread director 2, let me show you a picture of it. Thread director 2 allows you to put 2 spools of thread going vertically facing your needle, or excuse me, horizontally facing your needle. So if you want the extra flexibility to be able to do super decorative things, get the thread director 2, because you can use 1 spool or you can use 2 spools. You can do some twin needle action if you want with your metallic threads, or with a metallic mixed with a traditional rayon or something to that effect. And you can see how that one goes on just as easily as thread director 1. So both links are in the description for today's post. Grab up a thread director if you love metallic threads. I mean, it's just a lifesaver, lifesaver. All right, so let's see what else I have to show you today. Oh, okay. I also wanted to talk about when you register for our webinars, what that looks like. Because a lot of times we get questions from people saying, where is the link? How do I get there? There's music playing, what's happening? It can be confusing. So we use a different platform for our webinars as than our regular website, so that we can host a bunch of people, okay? So when you register for the webinar, and you will get a link sent to your email. And when it is time for the webinar to start, or a few minutes before, or if you want to check and make sure that you're registered, you will click through onto those links and you will see this. All right, so this is today's event. Lounge and Learn with Sulky, May 26th at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Okay, you will see all these tabs. It'll say, please wait. That means we just haven't started yet. Okay, so this is what the page is going to look like once you've registered. There will be music playing. You're kind of in a waiting room. And then when we start, it just automatically will change your screen and we will start talking to you live. It's a beautiful thing. So if you had questions about our webinars, or if you haven't attended them in the past, I just wanted to give you kind of a little look into what that looks like. So I've had a lot of questions come in. I'm going to see if I can answer some of them. And, oh, okay, someone's asking what size top stitch needle for the metallic threads. So I use a 9014, and that's going to accommodate the metallic threads as well as the sulky rayon threads that we are using in today's webinar kit. Ooh, I also wanted to mention, when you're working with metallic threads and doing decorative stitches, it is a great idea to use stabilizer. Now, stabilizer weight is going to depend on the weight of the fabric that you're using. And for today, since we are doing this wall hanging and we want it to retain its shape while it's hanging on the wall, We don't want any, you know, dipping or sagging over time while it's hanging. Stabilizer is a great solution. The stabilizer that we're going to use today is Sulky Cutaway Plus. It's a pretty thick stabilizer for this cotton thread, but like I said, we not only want it to support all those decorative stitches, but we want the stabilizer to stay with the wall hanging over time. Now you can certainly use a more lightweight stabilizer if you plan to use your wall hanging as more of a quilt. Let's say you get all four and you want this 4 seasons applique quilt. I have samples of that in the webinar today, so definitely join me and you'll be able to see pictures of all of those, different ideas. But at any rate, you can use Sulky Soft and Sheer if you want something a little softer that doesn't sort of change the hand of the fabric, because the Cutaway Plus is going to make it a little bit stiffer, okay? But that's kind of what we really need to support all of these decorative stitches. The Soft and Sheer would also work well, or you could also use a tearaway behind the Soft and Sheer to give you more flexibility, more stability while you're sewing, and then you can tear that away. Now, it's going to remain behind some of those decorative stitches that have a lot of directional stitches to them. But again, this is something that's decorative, something that we're probably going to display. So having that extra stability is going to really, really help create great looking stitches, no puckering. Some of those decorative stitches, like a honeycomb stitch that have that are super wide and go a lot of different ways, those can cause some puckering or distortion while you're sewing. So you really, really want to use stabilizer. And again, just to show you again, 30% off stabilizers right now, you guys. 30% off until tomorrow. So grab that deal because it's fantastic. And also, just to tell you again, great specials during the webinar today. I mean, unbelievable prices on things. So definitely join us. The webinar prices are only good for the day of the webinar. So those are going to expire at midnight tonight. But the stabilizer, you'll still have a chance until tomorrow to grab up those special deals. All right, let me address some more questions. All right. Okay. Yes. Okay. So people are asking about the time of the webinar. So yes, we do them during the day. We did a survey a couple of years ago and asked what time people preferred for the webinars. And it was 2 o'clock on Tuesday, Eastern Time. That was the overwhelming response. So just know if you cannot join us live, our webinars become on demand once the live event ends. Okay, so you still want to register so that you can go in when the live event ends. If you're free this evening, you can watch it at your leisure. Okay, so it's still available to you, the great content. It's just that we can't answer your questions live, obviously, if you're watching it on demand. So, all right. Let's see if there's more questions. Thank you so much for joining me today, everyone. All right. Have the adapter, haven't had a chance to use it. Again, I'm going to just show you our thread director and the Sulky Sliver thread that's on it. I haven't threaded the needle, so it does look a little strange. So let me go ahead and actually thread it so you can see that it's coming off of the spool pin flat. So there we go. Now you can see how it is threading off of this, or how the thread is coming off of the spool. All right. All right. Hello from Tennessee. Hey there. Yes, the thread spooler is an aha moment. I know. It's the greatest product. I mean, just life-changing when you're working with these threads. You do also want to slow your machine speed when you're working with metallic thread. I even do it with the original metallic, especially with machine embroidery, because your machine is going so fast, okay? And you've already got the added friction from the metallic thread. Even when you're using the spool pin adapter, the sewer's aid, the stabilizer, the right needle, okay? Going too fast can still produce thread breakage. So slow your machine by at least half, okay? And when you are doing decorative stitching, if you can manually slow your speed, I recommend that. If you cannot, obviously you have to control the speed with your foot pedal, which is a little more challenging, especially when you're a sewer like me who just likes to put your foot to the floor when you're sewing. But at any rate, try to go slower if you have to do that with your foot pedal, and you'll have just greater results. All right, let me make sure we don't have any more questions on the metallic thread. Yes, you can also use metallic thread for hand sewing. Did you all know this? We have a great cross-stitch video series, which has tips for cross-stitching, yes, and teaching you the basics of cross-stitching, giving you a refresher course, things like that. But if you're a hand sewer, you like hand embroidery, we also have great tips for pairing the metallic thread with the sulky 12-weight cotton petites. You use one spool of both in your needle, and when you're doing your hand sewing, you get little flecks of metallic in your work. And it's so cute, so great, another great reason to use metallic thread. Why don't they make the machines this way to begin with? Right? Why don't they? We should write some letters. It's a great solution for any thread not twisting off of the machine. Oh, hey, Barb. Barb from Naperville's in the house. Okay, sorry, I've got to get through these. There's so many questions. Okay. So excited to try the hollow shimmer with invisible thread. Yes, when you are winding that bobbin with invisible thread, you want to only wind it about halfway. And also slow it down when you are winding it. Now, sulky invisible thread is a polyester thread, okay? So it is not going to melt. You can wash it. It is so much easier to sew. However, you still want to go slow when you're winding the bobbin. Make sure you don't have any stretching or anything when you are loading it, and only wind it halfway. Those are my recommendations. I store my sulky metallic in a Ziploc plastic bag. It seems to help. Oh, that's interesting. Does anyone else have tips for storing metallic thread? I always store my metallic thread in a sulky slimline container because I happen to have those and I love them, and they are great for organizing all of my threads. They also, you can get stickers that will organize your thread by color number, so that you have this nice rainbow array of colors. And then when you run out of one, you know exactly what number that is. If you happen to lose the spool, you'll know what number you're missing and you can order it. So, love those. Ooh, Michelle Umhoff is in the house. Michelle, hey, what's up? Michelle's going to be joining us for the webinar today. You're going to learn great tips from her. She's so awesome. You may have taken a class from her already. She teaches a lot of classes out in the universe. She's always at all the sewing consumer events, so you may have seen her before, but great educator, knows everything about stabilizers. She's going to tell us all of her tips and tricks. Okay, someone is asking, how about glowy threads? Do I slow my machine speed for those? That's an interesting question. Okay, I actually have not slowed my machine down for the glowy threads. If you're having trouble and thread breakage with the Glowy, definitely email us, because I have not come across those problems. I sew it just like I would a traditional polyester, polydeco, or rayon thread, even for embroidery. However, it is less heat tolerant. Okay, so you cannot put your iron on those glowy threads. They're going to melt together, and you'll lose all the thread definition in your design. So do be aware of that with the glowy threads. Love Hollow Shimmer for cross stitch. Have any of you checked out our cross stitch YouTube video series? It is so amazing. Amanda May from Ardith Designs is the teacher, the mastermind, the genius behind those videos, and she does a great job of explaining how to begin and end a stitch, and she uses really interesting materials for her projects. She likes to be very sustainable with her stitching, and so she shows us her thrift store finds, and you'd be surprised, you can find a lot of those things that she uses in like every thrift store. So it's very accessible. So we have 2 webinars, this one and the one later at 2 o'clock. What is the difference? Well, actually, this stream right now is not a webinar. This is just our Facebook Live video series where we chat about what we're sewing. We want to hear about what you're sewing. It's definitely not like our webinars. So if you're used to this format, definitely register for our webinar so you can see what it's like and take advantage of that. It's more of a course, and it's more interactive in that we have embedded videos, we have freebie downloads, we have all kinds of extra information for you, and it's more like a free class. This is more of an informal, just, hey, how you doing? Here are the specials that are going on, and what questions do you have for us about Sulky products, more in general, or as they relate to today's topics. So today is not, we don't really consider it a class or a webinar. We just consider it a way to connect with you all in person and live on social media. So that's the difference. All right. Lots of questions I'm trying to get through. So thank you so much for, putting these questions in here. Okay. Can you use invisible thread when making freestanding lace? I suppose that you could. I'm not sure whether you're asking about using that in the bobbin or the top or both. I'm assuming you would want to use it in both, since freestanding lace, you would wash away all of your stabilizer and then have this thread lace object, like an ornament or a bookmark or something. So yeah, I mean, if you want to use invisible thread and make like a snowflake ornament, I suppose you could do that. Now, that being said, I have never done it myself, so I am unsure what your result would be, but invisible thread is about as strong as, like our polydeco thread. So I would assume you would have the same result. Let me know if anyone out there has tried that. And usually invisible thread is, usually freestanding lace uses a lot of thread. So if you are using invisible thread for that, just be mindful you're going to need to wind a lot of bobbins halfway to get through your design. So that's an interesting question. I would love to know if you try it, let us know. All right. Perfect. Okay, where do you get the labels for the thread boxes? I store my thread and need those labels. So on our website, you can go to the resources, and you can also email us and request the little stickers for your slimline boxes. Some of them come with those stickers, and you can write down your thread numbers, because people get different slimline boxes. Some only have, 20 spools in them, some are full of thread. So some of them come with those stickers that are blank, but you can also request them from us. So you can email info@sulky.com and we can get you connected. Oh, great. Enjoyed the cross stitch videos. Thanks so much for watching those. We have a cross stitch video series. We also have a hand embroidery for kids video series. And it does say for kids, but it's really good for anyone starting out hand embroidery, because you learn a few basic stitches, you learn how to get started, you learn some different products that will help you be really successful with hand embroidery. So even though it says for kids, that doesn't mean you can't watch it and pretend that you are 7 to 11 years old and get all of those tips from us as well. All right. Ooh, someone just said that they used the metallic thread on cork from one of our other webinars. I'm trying to find it too. Okay, so metallic thread on cork has an awesome effect. Metallic thread on faux leather. Like I said, I love the little touch of sparkle. If you're making a bag and you've got or you've got any hardware associated with the bag, like D-rings, buckles, rivets, purse feet, things like that add a little bit of shine, using a metallic thread for the top stitching just kind of pulls the whole look together, and it just looks awesome. So, all right. Could you also link the cross stitch site? Yeah, we will put a link in the comments for the cross stitch YouTube videos. If you go to YouTube and find the Sulky page, you will see a playlist for the entire video series on cross stitch. Do we need the kit for the webinars? Well, not necessarily, okay? You can definitely come to our webinar and get all of the information on stabilizers today and learn all of the techniques for the applique and decorative stitching. However, the project that we will be creating is in the kit. It isn't going to be available for free or outside of the webinar. You can find it on the Sulky site. We always have these Simply Applique kits on our site, but not for the screaming deal for today. So just keep that in mind. What color do you use for faces? Okay, I assume this is for free motion stitching or for machine embroidery. Now, interestingly enough, Sulky has a collection that is all skin tones. So you can grab a slimline box full of skin tone thread colors, and then you can match those threads to the skin tone you're trying to achieve for your design, because that can get really tricky. If you're Caucasian and you just choose a random sort of peachy color, it can end up looking really bizarre in the end result, surprisingly, in your machine embroidery or free motion stitching projects. So it's a great idea to do a little sample of some different sort of skin tone colors of thread. And if you grab up that slimline container, that has all the, I believe it's called flesh tones or skin tones, then you can experiment and figure out how to switch out those threads for your designs. So it's a really great little handy sampler. Definitely grab that. I've tried invisible thread for quilting, but not embroidery. The only reason I would use it for embroidery is if I am doing, let's say, quilting in the hoop. Again, a quilting project. I don't really use invisible thread for embroidery. If you are incorporating little metallic accents into your embroidery, invisible thread in the bobbin, okay? But a lot of the times I will just match up a poly light thread color to my metallic, okay? Or I will just use traditional bobbin thread. But these decorative stitches, a little bit different than machine embroidery because you don't have all those heavy heavy stitch count designs like you're working with a machine embroidery design. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay. So, someone wondering if the invisible thread would bend as nicely as rayon or polyester. Maybe try to see what happens. So, like I said, the Sulky invisible thread is a polyester thread. So, it has much more flexibility than like a different monofilament thread that you may have tried. I find it doesn't change the hand of fabric. Yes, it does feel a little bit coarser when you're working with it, but Sulky invisible thread is just a wonderful, wonderful thread. If you haven't tried it, I highly suggest, because like I said, you can iron it, you can wash it, it doesn't stretch a ton. It's not like, that fishing line type of heavier weight invisible thread. All right. Okay, I'm so glad that some of you have been convinced to try metallic thread. I know that a lot of people have breakage problems and they like to, or, they blame the thread quality, or they switch out a ton of different needles and it still isn't working. It may very well be the way that it is flowing off of the thread spool towards your needle. Usually the breakage occurs because it's twisting so much and then all of a sudden it just has to break because there's so much tension on it. So definitely slow the machine, check out that thread director, try the sewer's aid, make sure you got a 90-14 metal or top stitch needle, and try the stabilizer as well. Ooh, I like glitzy thread when I make 3D flowers. That's a really great way to use the metallic thread. A little goes a long way. You don't need to use metallic. Let's say you're doing a freestanding flower. You don't want to use metallic for like every single petal, but little glitz here and there, maybe the center of the flower or a portion like an outline or something like that would look really, really pretty. That's a great idea. Okay. All right. Pretty new to machine embroidery. Everything has been great quality from Sulky. Thank you so much for that comment. Really appreciate it. I have been in the sewing industry for a long time. I'm going on 15, 16 years of being in the industry, and I've sewn what feels like my whole life since I was 8 years old. And, I have used a lot of products, a lot of different machines, and Sulky has always been tried and true for me. And I know I am an employee, but I truly say that from the heart, that everything I have used from Sulky has been wonderful. The quality control and customer service is beyond anything I've experienced as well. So, okay. Sorry, I'm going through a ton of questions here, so thank you so much. Love your Polylite thread. Can you use it for raw edge applique? Now, Polylite is a 60 weight thread, so it is lighter weight than a 40 weight rayon or 40 weight polydeco, right? The higher the number, the higher the weight, the thinner the thread. So yes, certainly you can use the Polylite for raw edge applique in the needle or in the bobbin, but it's going to sort of blend in with your fabric more. Okay, it's not going to look like it is resting on the surface. So if you're doing a raw edge applique and you don't want to really notice the thread, you want it to be more about the fabric, then by all means use the Poly Light. If you want a more decorative application, you want to really see that shiny, bright rayon thread, then go for the 40 weight. All right, so it's hard for me to go through the questions while we are talking, but I just want to review for you our webinar today. It's going to start in a little over an hour, so make sure you register, okay? There's so many special deals, tons of freebies, more than ever before. We will be learning about the American Sewing Expo and why we should all be members of the American Sewing Expo. It's a great, great organization, and we're going to get awesome education about stabilizers, decorative stitching, applique. We're going to be working through this great wall hanging. You can choose summer, winter, spring, or fall. Again, here is what they all look like. So join me today at 2 o'clock Eastern Time. I can't wait to see you there, where we can all connect and come together, even in times where we can't physically be together. So let's get virtual today. And thank you so much for joining me on Facebook. And I will see you in our webinar in just a little while. Thank you.